Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Expendable Show. I'm your host, The Expendable. If you like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell. That's how the show grows. There's some major things to cover today, so it's going to be complicated. So I want to make sure that I take the time so that way everybody who watches this will understand what's happening. But first, let's go through our statistics. So Doge updated their website again, so we're up to 150 billion. Which is 931.68 per taxpayer, and on the Doge or on the debt clock, it's at 298 billion, which is 26.54 per taxpayer. So we're starting to see these numbers climb up there. The Canadian Prime Minister race, basically nothing's really changed drastically there. We're still looking at Carney's at 44%, Pierre is at 37.1%. The Democrats still holding a strong 21% approval rating. They still don't get it. They don't get it. I don't understand how you don't get it. When you're like the biggest loser ever, I don't know how you just don't get it to stop being a loser. Trump's approval ratings at 47.5%. You know, a lot of liberals do not think that Trump is that high. They think he's at like 30%. They think they have this major like advantage over that. He's really unpopular, but he's holding his ground where the liberals went backwards drastically. So let's take a look at eggs. Biden's eggs were $4.15 a dozen. Trump's eggs are $3.24 a dozen. So we're seeing a drastic improvement there. Gas is at $3.30 on average during Biden, and Trump's got $3.23. So that's a good thing. And it should go down lower because I just saw this morning, I'm pretty sure that gas went back down. It's like below $57 a barrel now, I think. So we should start seeing any day these gas prices start to drop drastically. Mortgage rates still hovering around the same. We're at 6.7 in 2024. Today we're at 6.69. Now I've been waiting on Jerome Powell to drop them with the stock market going down, but he just never did it. So I'm gonna wait and see what happens with that, if he's still planning on doing it now that we've had this drastic change in our stock markets. It's been a little different. It's something that America's not used to, seeing these drastic movements here. So today, the big story we're going to talk about today is the U.S.-China trade war. So there's a tit for tat going on between Trump and Xi Jinping. For those of you who don't know, Xi Jinping is the imperial president of China. Nobody likes Xi Jinping. That's the thing. So it's escalating, and it's drastically escalating. In the last 24 hours, it's been insane. So Wednesday, which is today, Trump announced that he's immediately raising the tariffs on Chinese goods to 125% over Beijing's lack of respect towards America, while pausing and lowering reciprocal tariffs on other countries. So he's basically rewarding the countries that have been trying to work with him and said, you know what, China, you want to play this game? Let's play this game. Trump went on to say, at some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. It's really starting to bug me that Trump's using the word sustainable a lot lately. Makes me think that he's sold out. It's like a bad word in my vocabulary, sustainable. Trump said that his reciprocal tariffs on other countries would be paused for 90 days. He did that today, during which the tariff rate would be lowered to 10% across the board on all goods. That had a massive reaction from the stock market today, and we'll talk about that in a second. Trump's move comes just hours after China announced it was increasing its reciprocal tariff on U.S. goods from 34% to 84%. So Trump is stepping the game up. China is, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a stock genius, but I know enough. And I've been researching a lot about how international tariffs work. And I can tell you with the things that I've compiled and the knowledge that I know and how this works, like in my own job, that um, China is playing their hand wrong, drastically wrong. China's going to be on the verge of losing everything, and I'm going to explain to you why just here in a second. So China did not get the 90-day pause. They're getting the 90-day. You're still paying what I say you're going to pay. So Japan, which is the United States' largest foreign bondholder, they've been selling our bonds, which highly affects our stock market. And there are theories that Trump was kind of put in the loop that, hey, Japan's selling all of our bonds, and that's a problem. And for those of you who don't know about bonds, they're a little bit more important. The value of the bonds are more important than the stock market when it comes to our financial stability. So if people start selling our bonds, it's going to make our economy very weak very fast. And Japan was doing it rapidly. It basically it'll deflate our economy, and nobody will be able to afford anything. So after the pause announcement, the market skyrocketed and hit a one-day record that we haven't seen. The former record was like 2,500. Trump hit 2,900 on the stock increase today. So that's a big deal. We saw a drastic drop. Now we're seeing a drastic increase, all because Trump paused tariffs. So the good thing is that China's increases didn't seem to hurt the stock market. So you got guys like Howard Lutnick and Scott Bessent. They are doing a fantastic job working with Trump on getting this whole tariff thing under control. We're going to end up with some really, really good deals out of this at the end of the day. And they were able to show like, hey, we can implement these tariffs and our market will recover. And that's what they showed that would happen, because none of these deals are done. But there's over 70 countries that have contacted President Trump and said, hey, we want to work out a deal. This isn't going to work. So let's get back into China and talk about how much of a bunch of losers they are. So top export destinations for China. The United States of America is a major market for Chinese exports with goods worth around $500 billion. Okay, so we're the number one importer of Chinese goods. China says that we're the number one exporter of their goods. So if they can't bring their goods here, they're going to lose financially. They're going to be hurting. And if they have to pay the tariffs, which they're going to have to if they want to bring goods in here, 125% right now, we're going to make a lot of money. The United States of America is. So China's been running around trying to shop their materials and their products to other countries, mainly India and Vietnam. However, India and Vietnam have been working very well. Now, there's a strategy here. China is starting to work themselves into not so good graces with everybody because China has tariffs on everybody. So if China is trying to get in there with India, but India just made a deal with the United States, said, hey, we'll zero out our tariffs if you zero out your tariffs. Who do you think India is going to do business with? The country that's not going to charge them a tariff, or the country that's going to charge them a tariff? China's in a bad spot. They're due to lose billions and billions of dollars, probably hundreds of billions of dollars. So the next big contributor is, I gotta scroll down to get to it. Hong Kong. So Hong Kong is 291 billion. Next is Vietnam, 161 billion. Japan is fourth, 152 billion. South Korea, 146 billion. India, 120 billion. Russia, 115 billion. Germany, 107 billion. Malaysia, 101 billion. The Netherlands, 91 billion. Mexico, 90 billion. Thailand, 86 billion. Singapore, 13 at 79 billion. The United Kingdom, 78 billion, and Indonesia, 76 billion. So what we have here is the list of countries that we just talked about. So if you take the export of the United States, and now you're paying 125% on that, the United States of America is going to make a bunch of money. We're talking, if we compile this up in a year and we come out to another 500 billion, the United States of America is going to make a lot of money. We're going to be making billions off of it. China's going to lose billions off of it because now they have to pay us. Same thing. So we got the United States. Now Vietnam's worked out a deal with us. So they're the third biggest. So if we add our 524 billion, add Vietnam's 161 billion, that's 700 billion dollars. $706 billion right there that China could lose. And let's throw India in there. So they're at 120 billion. So there's 826 billion. They've almost lost $1 trillion just off of Trump's trade war. So this is a problem for China. We're in a good spot because we're going to attract business from countries that we already do business with, but now we've offered them a better deal and they've offered us a better deal. So where do you think we're going to go? Do you think India and Vietnam can't make the same stuff China does? They can't. They already do. We just spread the wealth. So what we'll do is we'll just cut China out and say, well, okay, well, I guess you're not going to get to benefit off of the greatest spending market on the planet. We're the biggest consumers of goods on the planet. So they're going to lose their ability to do that. And they're like, well, we'll work with India. Okay, well, India doesn't have the markets that we have. We are way more advanced in our spending. So good, we're not going to make the profit we used to make. So look for China's markets to start declining. Now, let's take a look now at China's trade deficits. So they owe Taiwan 142 billion in trade deficits. This is last year, of course. Australia, 70 billion. Switzerland, 47 billion. So China's been paying tariffs to other people. That's what that means. So if China can pay Taiwan, Australia, Switzerland, Brazil, let's see, we've got South Korea on there, Oman, Iraq, Chile, Congo, and Qatar. They pay tariffs to all these countries. If they can pay tariffs there, they can pay tariffs to us. They need to stop playing. If they want to survive this, they need to stop playing the game and get on Trump's team and work out a trade deal. They need to come down. That 34% where they started at, they need to come down. Even if they would throw something out there like 20%, that's better than 34. And Trump's going to be more receptive to that. He's going to say, okay, well, then we'll do 10%. And then problem solved. And that's basically what he's doing with most of these countries. He's halving them. He understands that they have to make money. He understands, that he's going to have to negotiate. But these other countries, they have not understood that. They'll tariff each other, but then they expect us to just give handouts. And as I talked on my TikTok the other day, when you look at the state of California pays $170 billion in tariffs. Imagine how much fire aid and firefighters they could hire with $170 billion. Imagine how much advanced water supplies that they could create with $170 billion. They could stop forest fires altogether with some kind of system that they could invest in with $170 billion. But instead, they give it right out to the international world, mainly China. Texas is the same way. Texas is 82 billion. Imagine how nice of a border wall we could have with 82 billion extra dollars in Texas. So there's all these there's all these factors, and every state pays a tariff because that's how they break it down. So if you add everything up total, we pay over, I think Laura Ingram said the other day, $1.2 trillion in tariffs. Huh. So if we spend $7 trillion in our budget all the time and we subtract 1.7 trillion, that's 5.8 trillion. So wait a minute, how much money do we actually bring in? Like 5.2 trillion? So, or 4.8 or something like that. We're closer to a balanced budget just by giving us a better trade advantage. You know how much we made in collecting tariffs last year? 93 billion. We paid out 1.2 trillion, but we made 93 billion. Good job, Joe Biden. That's why this is a problem. We're not collecting any money. We're not collecting the world tax. Everybody else is. So what are some of the items that China exports? Some of the top things that they do are obviously phones, integrated circuits, computers, commodities not elsewhere specified, in cars. So cars, do we really need the Chinese cars? Car parts, yes. Phones. Now we already know that there's deals getting made where these phone makers, Sony, Samsung, they're starting to work on migrating their business to the United States. So they're going to lose some of their main trade commodities. Now, what does that mean? It means the China virus is screwed. They're not getting funded. China's not going to get funded. Their market, their assets, their GDP is dependent upon the United States, just like every other country in this world. They can't do anything without the United States. So what does China import? Well, they import integrated circuits, just like from other people, other makers. Crude petroleum. They need everybody else's oil. Iron ore. They don't have their own iron, apparently. Gold and gas, natural gas. So they have the ability to spend a lot of money. Those all those things that they need are not cheap. And they're going to pay international prices for them. If it's American petroleum, they're going to pay our price. But we know China don't do things like that. They do everything cheap. So when you look at it in dollars and cents, let's break this down in dollars and cents. China has shipped the U.S. $3.5 trillion worth of products around. Yeah, they've shipped $3.5 trillion worth of products. That is a lot. The dollar amount results from 38.1% increase in revenue compared to 2.5 trillion in 2020. So why is that significant? So we went from spending 2.5 trillion with China to 3.5. In 4 years under Joe Biden? How did China gain $1 trillion in revenue off of the United States during Joe Biden's term? Huh. Well, that's interesting. Joe Biden certainly didn't have any ties to communist China, did he? I mean, he always talked real tough about China on the news, but then he gave them $1 trillion. It's really interesting how that works sometimes. So when we look at the percentage of things, almost half of mainland China's export values Exports by value was delivered to fellow Asian countries. So it's 48.2% they keep in Asia. So 18.5% of their goods go to North America. So if they stop doing business with the United States, they're probably going to lose 15% of their revenue. So smaller percentages went to like Latin America is like 5%, excluding Mexico. You got Africa at 5%, Oceania at 2.4%, Australia and New Zealand. So they have trade partners, but it's not like us. They know we have the markets to do these things. They don't. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. How are the markets going to react? Because Trump's going to start making these deals. He's going to get them done before the 90-day period. However, what's China going to do? Is China going to cave? A lot of people are thinking that China is going to cave. So let's see how that all pans out. There's not really, I mean, there's big stories going on out there, but nothing compared to the stock market. The stock market, if the Wall Street affects the world. So everybody's watching our stocks right now. And as we know, they've started to recover today. So we'll see how far up that goes. I think we just crossed 40,000 on the Dow Jones, where it was like down to like 37,000. So we're in good shape there. The Biden administration really did a number on our economy, and I don't think a lot of people understand just how bad that worked out for them. And for those of you liberals that are constantly like Trump only cares about billionaires, well, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard all lost over $1 trillion. So I would say that if he was in bed with them, he probably wouldn't tank their markets. So I would be willing to say that Trump is legitimately trying to reset things. Now, the liberals seem to think that he's just blindly steering the ship, but I just got done watching Scott Bessent talk, and Howard Lutnick did another speech about it too, where Trump sat all three of them down and they game planned this out. And now make the announcement that the tariffs are going to happen. Don't negotiate with anybody for 2 days. Let them sit on it and stew. And then on day 3, let them tentatively throw things out there, but don't negotiate back. And then now we're at this point where he's like, okay, we're going to push this back. He knows how to make the markets react now. How is the market going to react? Well, he showed it. Wall Street was not very nice to President Trump, which is I get it. He heavily affected the trade. It screwed everything up and everybody's uncertain. But most Wall Street guys don't like Trump, which is amazing because all the Democrats keep saying that he's only for the billionaires. But you got J.B. Pritzker, one of the top Democrats, and he's worth like $7 billion. So yeah, make sense. I bet he's not paying his fair share. It looks like we're starting to see some movement out of Pam Bondi as well. She's been talking real tough, and she's going to have to back it up. Kash Patel, he's doing a great job. People are getting arrested left and right. The judges are getting overturned. The liberal judges are getting overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court. Trump can now go back to firing people in the government whenever he feels they need to be fired, and he can go back to deporting immigrants to El Salvador. So the Supreme Court has spoken. I mean, Trump takes a loss here and there, but overall, everybody's pretty much riding with this plan. Now we know that the Democrats are trying to stir up violence. It's very evident that that's what they're doing. All of my listeners, please stay away from those things. Stay away from the big cities when they're having these protests. it just takes one act of stupidity to make something turn into a giant disaster. So let's just avoid those areas. Let them sit around and go, well, we don't have anybody to assault or tear up. So I've been following a big one of the big terrorists from the Mumbai bombing in India. He was extradited this morning from the United States back to India, and he's probably going to rat on the whole country of Pakistan. So I think there may be a situation that could brew out of that. They're saying that he worked with, he was in the Pakistani military, the bomber was, and he worked with some of the Pakistani military officials to coordinate the bombing of Mumbai in India. So we'll see what happens out of that. I know the tensions are really high over there. That India's got border issues anyway with Pakistan, and then on the north side with China. China and India are always on the verge of like blowing each other up. So we'll see how those turn out. It's a lot of stuff going on. There's between today and tomorrow, Friday, there could be a whole other 360 full of things to happen. Trump also, yesterday, I believe it was, Trump basically turned the coal mines on, said, get it done. So he had this big press conference with the coal miners. That turned out good. That we needed that. That's extra energy that we need. Now that we pretty much have determined that the climate crisis is a hoax and nobody cares about it anymore. They only care about the trans movement. That's it. And stopping fascism that doesn't exist, or at least not in the way that they think it does. Everybody check out, the CIA released a document. They declassified it to where I've already seen this video and then it disappeared off the internet, where these Russian Air Force pilots swore up and down, like, we've been in a massive firefight with extraterrestrials up in the Arctic Circle. And there is a CIA document out there that supports that video. I came across it today. I should have saved it and showed it, but everybody go find it. There's already been a battle between Russia and the extraterrestrials in a big firefight up in the Arctic Circle. Which would be super cool. I mean, I think we're close to getting these things to happen, where we're going to actually like see something definitive that nobody can deny. So I'm excited about that. I saw E.T. and then I saw the video where they said that, how E.T. got all his powers. Then they showed Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, and his whole species of aliens is on the Jedi Council. Who would have thought E.T. was a Jedi this whole time? Just saying. And it was before Disney. So it's not a Disney thing. Before Disney. Speaking of Disney, they're in big trouble. That whole Snow White thing snowballed on them. They lost their ass on it. So they're getting rid of all the woke policies and all that, and basically abandon them. The whole LGBTQ movement's in trouble. They're probably going to lose a lot of backing, a lot of funding, because it costs companies a lot of money to back them. And it just shows you, at the end of the day, if you're going to get in bed with a business and take money from a business, at the end of the day, a business is a business. They're going to look at their bottom line. They're going to look at their market trends. If they say, hey, we affiliated with these guys in November, and ever since then our sales have gone down, guess what? They're going to cut ties with the loser. It's how business works. So we'll see what happens. But the lefties keep losing their mind. Everybody be safe out there. It's a critical time in our country where there's a lot of uncertainty going on and people are scared and don't know what to do. And then you got the super crazy liberals are getting paid by all the George Soros people. Speaking of which, with Keir Starmer announcing that he's going to end globalization, or at least a large portion of it, that tells me that, and with the stepping down of Klaus Schwab in 2027, we're going to be seeing the woke movement and all of these extra crazy things that the Democrats been peddling. They're not going to be able to be funded anymore. Because if you read my book, The Swiss Effect, it tells you how all of these things we've been going through have been funded through the World Economic Forum and private donors. Now seeing USAID money's been involved in that. So we really want to understand that these things are going to turn around. People are abandoning this movement. It didn't work. And now everybody's cutting their losses. But I know it's a short show, but I didn't have a lot of time. There wasn't really anything big going on other than the China-US stuff. So I'll be back on Sunday. And everybody be safe out there. Peace.